There's 4 stages for how to brace effectively when performing strength-based movements. The first one is learning how to contract all the musculature around the area that you need to brace. The second point is being able to differentiate between a belly breath and a chest breath. The third point is combining number 1 and number 2. So being able to brace your midsection whilst trying to belly breathe. And the fourth component is stitching that into various movements around the gym. For example, squats, deadlifts, bench, press, etc. Point number 1. First point is being able to contract everything that is between your lowest rib and the highest point of your hip. This is the area that is only supported by musculature. The only bony structure in this area is your spine. Your thoracic spine has a rib cage attached to it which provides stability, and the very base of your spine has the pelvic structure which again provides some stability. But that bit in between doesn't have anything other than musculature to support it. So it's very obvious when the front musculature of your core is contracted. But the main area that is problematic for most people, if you find the gap between the highest point of your hip and your lowest rib, you will be able to, if you're stood relaxed, you will be able to push your thumb quite a bit of the way in to the point where it goes and disappears into the musculature and a little bit of body fat. What you want to be able to do is learn how to contract that voluntarily. To learn this process, the easiest way is just to clear your throat. As you do that, it makes the musculature contract. You then want to be able to do that voluntarily. And then you want to make sure that you can do that on both sides. As you can do that, you then want to make sure that the front musculature is tensed as well. So you can use your fingertips to make sure that you've tensed your abs. You're using your thumbs to make sure that you've tensed that bit. And then that is that entire area braced. The second point is being able to differentiate between a belly breath and a chest breath. You can practice this whilst lying down, you can practice this whilst sitting, or you can do it whilst you're standing, but you need to be able to differentiate between a chest breath where when you breathe in, your chest expands, and a belly breath where when you breathe in, your belly expands. The reason this is important is because the third component where you're combining number 1 and number 2, you have to belly breathe outwards into the musculature that you have contracted, and that is what provides your midsection with stability. So you make sure that everything's braced using your thumbs and using your fingers. And then you try to breathe into this space. So you try to belly breathe, but the musculature is stopping it from being able to expand as it normally would. And as a result, there is an increase in pressure. This is called intra-abdominal pressure. As you try to breathe in, you will feel a strange sensation as the pressure builds within that midsection. You may have some movement appear into your rib cage because there isn't anywhere for your belly breath to go, and so it'll seep out upwards a little bit. That's okay in the small doses, but what you want to make sure is that as that is happening, as that little bit is seeping out towards your rib cage, you're making sure that the pressure is building up here. You don't just want to brace this and then breathe out through your rib cage without creating any stability within your midsection. And then once you've learned to do that and you can perform it proficiently, you want to be able to do it without needing to have your hands there for feedback. And then you want to start incorporating that into the various gym exercises that you may have programmed for you. The easiest exercises to incorporate this into are things like a plank, where you're not actually moving, so you can just encourage that brace in a different position, or when gravity is affecting on you in a different way. And then start incorporating it into bodyweight squats and simpler variations of a squat. Then start building the process up with bigger and bigger movements, more and more complicated movements. And at some point down the line, you'll realize that this isn't the only way that you can brace, and nor is it the only way that you should brace. However, for the vast majority of the exercises that we do, especially when we have exercises that are spinally loading us vertically, such as our common movements like a shoulder press, a back squat, a deadlift, we do want to be bracing in this way to best protect our spine from excessive movement whilst there is load occurring on the spine.